Cool, so we can start. Apologies for being a little bit late. Last time I checked the agenda, it was, I think, 30 minutes later, but it's okay. I will be quick. So I'll talk today about games on Near protocol and challenges with that, kind of update, generally speaking, on what's happening there. So a little bit about myself. I'll start with a little bit about myself. So I worked in Near since beginning. Near protocol is layer 1. We started in San Francisco in August 2018. I was focusing on all kinds of things on the business side. So content, events, business development, recruiting, fundraisers. Talked to 500 founders or so. That was the whole entirety of the web3 ecosystem at the time. Right now it's a lot bigger, obviously. We learned a lot of things from the founders in terms of product feedback. Focused a lot on usability because of what blockchain games told us, actually. Established first incubator on Near. It's called Open Web Collective, and started Human Guild as one of the first spin-offs on Near last year. And so at Human Guild, we focus on Web3 gaming. So we incubate games on Near. We have 50 or so games and virtual worlds we're working with right now. And just gaming in context, today, gaming obviously is huge. Outside of blockchain, there are 2 games that have billion players playing a single game, and that's both Tencent titles. There are 34 games that reach 100 million players. So gaming is as big as ever. PlayStation 5 is the biggest selling console for gaming ever in history. When it comes to Web3 gaming, we're still early days. So we have 3 games that hit 100,000 daily active wallets. That's Alien Worlds, Splinterlands, Farmer's World. We had a lot of investment going into gaming. First half of this year was $5 billion invested in Web3 games. Right now it's obviously very different. The availability of capital dramatically decreased in the last couple of months. And an important thing to note is that 52% of the Web3 activity, when it comes to unique active wallets, is happening in Web3 games in this last quarter of 2022, in Q2. So gaming kind of drives big chunk of adoption already today on Web3, but then still putting it in the context of traditional gaming, it's still very early days. So we had 100,000 gamers or so for the very successful game in Web3, but then you actually hit millions of players and up to 100 million for many, many titles, and couple for like billion players for the Web2 world. So we're still early days, I would say. When it comes to Near overall ecosystem, I'm going to mention a little bit on our ecosystem in case people don't know. We launched mainnet roughly 2 years ago, so October 2020, or a year and a half ago. We have 700 or so projects being built on Near today. You can check out awesomenear.com to see kind of like full breakdown of projects. You can click on gaming there to see who is building or anything else. We have 10,000 daily active wallets, roughly 50,000 weekly active wallets on Near today. Most of the activity coming today from Aurora, that's EVM on Near, as well as some of the DeFi applications like Ref Finance, it's AMM on Near, NFT marketplaces like Paras, and then we have pretty interesting use cases like Near Crowd, where people get paid for doing data labeling for AI models. So that's actually a pretty big use case on Near. There are 3,000 people roughly who get paid every week to do data labeling for image recognition, for artificial intelligence. When it comes to gaming, so there are 88 or so games in development per awesomenear.com on Near. Very few are on mainnet already. There are 5. And then one of them is one of the top 10 most active contracts on Near in the last 14 days. If you want to try the game on Near to kind of see how it feels like, search for Pixel Dapps on Google, and that's one of the indie game development studios on Near. They launched already a couple games on Near, and there is a game called Crypto Hero you can try. It's a dungeon crawler. You go in dungeons, fight monsters there. It's similar to Diablo, but a lot more simplified. It's automated battlers there, and you need NFTs. You need like helmets and such to be able to actually kill the monsters in dungeons. Retention is still lacking for the time being. So the game that I just mentioned, Crypto Hero, had 10,000 people playing it in the beginning. It was launched in late January, but then it tapered off. So like retention is something we still don't have yet. but kind of learning how to actually build it in games. So it's fairly early days when it comes to gaming on Near. A lot of projects in development, just few on mainnet. So at Human Guild, our role is we're a community of creators and founders. So we work with a lot of artists who want to build games, connecting them to different independent game developers. We work with game studios. We go to game jams. We do some YouTube cross promotions as well to bring game developers with interest in Web3 to blockchain. And so usually with us, they're building their first game in Web3 and slowly kind of develop the muscle for what it means to have a Web3 native game. It usually starts with just something simple, like add NFTs to the game, but then people start thinking more natively when it comes to Web3 native game. So it takes some time for like mindset to change. I would say we also focus on user-generated content. We believe that holy grail of Web3 is to have opportunity for creators to be rewarded for their creations. And it also happens to be important in case of gaming. So you can increase amount of earners this way. You can build sustainable economy if you focus on user-generated content. You can be addressing this problem I mentioned, retention, because traditional IP can get boring if done on a small budget. And then if you have people from your community building content around your game or virtual world, actually it becomes more sustainable. And more people stick around and try more things. You can also do moderation in a decentralized way. So moderation is a big problem in the user-generated content worlds like Roblox and Minecraft. They have 1,000 people working on moderation teams, and it can be done in a near crowd style gigs in Web3 instead. So that could be addressing the problem with moderation when it comes to user-generated content. We start usually with grant. The grants we give is usually 10, 20,000 Near, but most of the help is actually non-monetarily. It's how to build fun game, how to go to market in a Web3 native way, incrementally with your community, how to build sustainable economies and open economies into this very complex, how to do recruiting and other aspects. And I'll show the video of some of our games. Let me see if it works. One second. hopefully this was fun.
Bonjour. Emmanuel Macron l'a annoncé. Si vous possédez un PEA, un compte titre ou un compte en bourse, vous pourrez dans les prochaines semaines tirer profit de l'un des plus gros transferts de richesse du XXIe siècle. Des sommes colossales vont être engagées dans les semaines à venir pour se libérer de notre dépendance au pétrole et au gaz russe dans un secteur très particulier, celui de l'énergie. Ceux qui se positionnent aujourd'hui et investissent dans les entreprises de ce secteur vont profiter du soutien massif de l'État français dans les semaines à venir.
Apologies. So yeah, I just have like less than 1 minute. I'll just mention, so the market conditions are a lot harder now, especially for gaming. It's much more capital intensive than many other verticals in web3. Now the availability of capital is much lower, so it's much harder for founders to operate in those markets. I think those markets will sustain. If we're going into global recession, it might be a thing for a couple of years, so people need to conserve cash, focus, launch as quickly as possible, getting users in organic way. NFT drops is a way to do that, one of the ways to do that, and potentially even changing the game itself. And lastly, so if you want to overall like work with us, so we have DAO on Near, and you can first of all like follow us on Twitter if you want to just stay in touch, kind of like see the progress across all of this 50 or so games we are working with. But if you want to build game with us, hit us up on Telegram, on Twitter, and we have DAO members, mostly game builders from Near. We're making decisions on like funding and then start working with different teams, and we can work as closely or loosely as you wish. We do weekly calls with our founders. We talk about like token economics and gameplay and all of the things related to this like hard work of like figuring out Web3 gaming, which I feel like it's not figured out yet. So yeah, that's it.